Welcome back to the Align podcast, where we talk all things health, wealth, and relationships. I am your host, Molly Rubish, joined here with my co-host, Anna Goff. And today we have a special guest, my friend, Stephanie Gambetta. Stephanie's conversation is just going to be so amazing. You guys are going to love her. She's the founder of The Loop Way, a fast-growing wellness platform redefining modern life. Stephanie's journey began with a bold reset, a long-distance move, a major life transition, and not long after, a serious ski accident that forced her to slow down and rebuild from the inside out. During recovery, she discovered peptides and their profound impact on healing, energy, and resilience. By navigating the world, she was confused. By navigating that world was confusing and unwelcoming, especially for women. That gap sparked her mission to make peptide education clear, accessible, and empowering. Today, through the Loop Way, Stephanie is helping thousands of women reclaim control over their bodies, their health, and their next chapter. Sorry, I fumbled over that, Stephanie, but please tell us a little bit about you, and thank you for being here.
It's a mouthful, Molly. Anyway, first of all, thank you guys for having me. I'm honored to be here. Molly came on my podcast, which was really fun. And so this is an honor. I just want to let you guys know. And it's interesting because my whole kind of evolution of really how I got to where I am now, which I'll kind of walk you through, really started with me kind of coming back to myself and having the courage to make some big. And so kind of rewinding, I'll take you back, and I'm 50 now, and probably my 40th birthday. I was living in Hawaii, 2 little kids. Life for me in Hawaii was very easy. I come from Hawaii, a place of like multi-generationally from Hawaii. So it's like everything's a phone call away. It's a place where most people would go, how could you ever leave? You know, I lived in a neighborhood where my parents were down the street, and so was my brother and my sister, and I just built this beautiful house, and like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. And I remember waking up and being like, my hands are in fists. What am I doing? I'm out of integrity. I got to figure this out. So it was around my 40th birthday when I started to kind of, that was 10 years ago. And I think you probably discussed, for most women who do get divorced, it's not an overnight decision. It's just when it's a soft whisper, and then it becomes louder, and you still push it down. And then, you go waves of being like, don't even think that. How could you even think that? To being like waking up in fists, being like, who wakes up in fists? Like something is really manifesting in my body. I'm not happy. And so kind of as I went through the journey of coming back to myself and really saying like, not only am I unhappy in my marriage, I'm really unhappy where I live. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Like I need to figure out what's best for me as a mom, because in that way I can be the best version of myself for my daughters. So to make a really long story a little bit shorter, COVID hit. My husband found out that I was extremely unhappy in our marriage and agreed California in hopes that we could kind of make our marriage work. And I actually was a little bit, to be honest, hopeful too, thinking maybe a new setting. You're always kind of like, I think when you have children, maybe things will change. Maybe things will change. I didn't think the grass was actually a lot greener. I was just starting to realize how unhappy I was, how unaligned I was. And so moved to California. My family didn't talk to me for a year. I was not supported. It was definitely like, you're selfish. What do you do? Why did you leave Hawaii? You're homeschooling these kids. You don't have any support. And I remember my mom finally came to visit me in California as my marriage was really falling apart, and she kind of witnessed it. And she said, she looked around and she's like, wow, you must really want this. This is really hard. And I looked at her, I'm like, damn straight. And I don't need your help, and I can do this. So I went to a place called the Hoffman Process. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but it's an amazing experience. And I honestly believe every human being should go to. And I had put it off, or I had signed up, and then I made an excuse not to go, and then I rescheduled. So I rescheduled 3 times because I knew the answer when I left there, that I couldn't deny to myself that I had to get out of this marriage. And so I finally went. Sure enough, a lot of soul searching. I came back and I said to my husband, I really believe that it's best for us not to be together. He ended up going to Hoffman. So at least we kind of spoke the same language, and we slowly unraveled. It wasn't pretty when I say slowly. We did the nesting, and we did the trying to co-parent, and we did all the things, and it's been a roller coaster. And I feel like we're really committed to being great parents, and we've had our moments. But I do think that I was really lucky in terms that we both are committed to trying to be the best versions of ourselves as we can. And so really I was on a journey kind of back to myself. Who am I? I quickly realized I got into the marriage for the wrong reasons. I really wasn't committed. Like I don't even know really who I was at that time. And so I was like, who am I now? I'm a 40-plus-year-old woman living in California. I don't have family. How am I going to be there for my daughters? That was like my first priority. And my therapist at the time said, Stephanie, you have worked your entire life, which is true. I've always been an entrepreneur. I'd owned restaurants and fitness studios and sat on a lot of boards in Hawaii, very involved in the community. And she goes, I'm going to actually tell you, I don't want you to work. I want you to just be there for your girls and get your girls settled. And that was like somebody telling you, like, sorry, you can't run and hide and go into a closet. You have to be like completely present, be there for your girls. And so I did. And then you find other ways to distract yourself. And some people, when they're going through tough times, drink too much or have many partners or eat too much. I decided I was going to run. I was a runner in college, and I'm like, I'm just going to numb myself in running so I don't have to feel the pain of the marriage and pain of me being so terrified. Like, what does it really mean to be on my own financially, emotionally? Like, kind of ignorance is bliss, but I did know that I was heading into a very unknown area, and it was terrifying with no backup plan. And so I'm just pounding the pavement, pounding it. I was inflamed. I was tired. And because of that, the body keeps its score, is what they say. And I was skiing, and it was the end of the ski trip. And the crazy about this, Molly knows the story, is the day I went, I was skiing. I had a boyfriend at the time, and we were skiing. And I said to him, I said, I should leave today because I'm tired. I never say that. Went up the chairlift, pictured myself in a knee brace with
Yeah.
with an accident, got off the lift, said to him, "Don't go too far from me." I never say that. Halfway through the run, I went to go left. I didn't even fall. The powder was so deep, my knee just went like this. And I yelled a profanity, and then I just go, "What? Did I will this? Like, did I know that I the big transition?" And I'm not sure what some of your listeners, but I've always believed that like nothing, everything happens for a reason. And I would have not slowed down if that hadn't happened to me. I would have just kept pushing and numbing and not listening to my body and trying to get through the really tough time. So long story short, learned I tore my ACL and my meniscus. And when you tear your meniscus, you have to be on crutches for a month after your surgery. On top of it's about an 8 to 9 month recovery from your ACL. So I knew I was in for a very long recovery. And it was honestly the best thing that ever happened to me. And it was so much personal development. I mean, I cried, and I cried tears of like sadness and joy. I mean, I remember Easter, and I had to do my physical therapy in a pool. So I was driving, I had purchased a house. And so I was driving to my new house I had moved into, and we had a pool. And this rainbow comes up, and I'm just crying because it's so beautiful. And I'm crying because I mourned my marriage. I mourned leaving Hawaii. I was just purging because I couldn't numb myself anymore. There was no numbing. I was just facing it. And it was honestly not tears of like, I feel sorry for myself. It was just, I had to let it out. And so I healed through full work and just like slowing down. And I don't even run really anymore. And I just was really going in a different direction of just calming my nervous system down and being very present with myself. And so then comes along peptides, and someone had said to me, hey, these are great ways. I've always been really open. I'm a health coach. I've always been open to other forms of healing. I did stem cells when I had long-term COVID in Guadalajara. I'm kind of a wackadoodle a little bit like that. So I said, why not? I have nothing to lose. Get on two peptides, one called BPC 157 and TB 500 that are really known for healing. And everything changed. All the inflammation left my body. I started to feel so much better. And I was like, what are these? What are they? And this is when no one was really talking about peptides. We're talking like a year and a half ago. And so now every influencer is talking about peptides. So I just went down this rabbit hole, a lot of gym bros, a lot of nerdy scientists, which is great. I was still learning, but I was like, there's got to be a way that we can get some education to the average person, the woman. Like, how am I almost 50 and like feeling so good in perimenopause from these peptides? And so, like many entrepreneurs, you start to, you just I'm going to create something that's not there. And so I hired doctors and nurses and smarter people than me and went to certifications and read books and got really educated and realized that like it's a market that's emerging that a lot of doctors don't even know about. And so it's been an evolution. And I think my heart is really in this place of women, in their anywhere from like late 30s, 40, 50, 60, up, who are dealing with so many life issues with menopause and perimenopause and just like where they are and how do they get back to feeling the best versions of themselves. So that's kind of my story. And that's where I am today.
That's amazing. I love how honest you are about that, and I think that a lot of women can resonate with that feeling of not being able to slow down enough to really get to the root of, like, who am I? What do I want? What do I need for myself? Yesterday,
Yeah.
Molly and I were filming a podcast, and somebody said, just sit with what do you really like? And I think so many women just forget. We forget because we're focused on everybody else's
Yeah.
needs and desires and being in a marriage, sometimes we get lost in that and after you're on the other side of a divorce thinking, what do I like? Who am I? And
Yeah.
what do I want? So when you started this peptide journey, uh, what was your thought um, around what it could do, not only the results that you saw, but then bringing it to market? Like, how did your company sort of grow from you using them to like, okay, I need to get this out to everybody and um, like explored other things too? Because I know you have other things besides just those two peptides that you talked about. Like, how did you decide to make this into a company?
Well, I had to be very brave. I mean, I went from being very private, like, especially because of my marriage and how it unraveled and everything. And there are a lot of people in Hawaii who were like, why did she leave? So I was protective of my family unit and me because, I left a small town of very nosy people sometimes. And so I was like, how much do I want to open myself up and expose versus protect? So the first day I had, literally, I had watched, I think Kim Kardashian did a master class and just talking about like, if you don't use the internet to your advantage, like, don't even start a business. And it was like, she was like, kind of being like, just get out there. So I remember like turning on public, like doing my first story and being like, oh my God, like, what is everyone going to think about me? And what is she doing? And drugs and peptide, like that. And in that evolution, there was so much growth of like realizing, especially as my company started really taking off and I got, you always get some negative. I got so much positive feedback and I started seeing how many women I was helping where I'd meet them and they would cry and hug me. And then I was like, I don't care what anyone thinks. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know it's the right thing. And like, I'm going to talk about it unapologetically. I'm going to talk about GLPs. I'm not going to make like they have shame and hiding in a corner. And I'm going to educate why they are so good. I'm going to talk about to change our mind in life. We don't have to have this black and white thing. Like, I used to hate GLPs. I'd be like, what a cheater. And now I'm like, God, I feel like every woman should be on a microdose of a GLP and I'll stick on the mountaintops. So just teaching women to it's okay to change your mind. We don't have to like work on our health in isolation. We can work on it in community. Knowledge is power. And I just feel like it's like a time, especially when like HRT, it's like the black box warning is coming off. And I think people are understanding how did we even get there? Like, why do men have Viagra and we got nothing? And just understanding like we can actually self advocate as women and be like, okay, no, I don't need to feel like this. I can feel the hottest, best version of myself in mind, body, spirit in middle age. Like we're not dying. And so if I can inspire anyone, and then also just like, I'm going to bring you the education, then go make your own decision. I'm very much about empowering you to say like, let me answer your questions. Let me make my suggestions. Let's look at your blood work. Let's look at your lifestyle. Here are my suggestions. Now you go and decide. And here are some tools for you to make that decision. And we're always here for you. And it's worked really well. And we have telehealth that's about to start, which is great because it gives an opportunity for people who really are uncomfortable with the research side of peptides and say, I want to go through this doctor and RFK is hopefully in July. We're going to have a handful of peptides coming back to where we can compound them with prescriptions and get them in the hands that can really, really help people. And then we'll have a whole membership platform, which I think is going to be really fun. So even if you don't buy peptides from us, Anna, you can go on and be like, I'm just going to join this membership. And there are lives every day on like different ailments you might have, or perimenopause, or a GLP, or Lyme disease. And then we'll have all these message boards where you can join a community. And so you're not in isolation. So whatever might be going, you might have rosacea, you might, whatever it is, you might have gout, you might have SIBO, gut issues. But the community boards, because I have a lot of groups running right now, I realize we don't
Mhm,
actually heal in isolation, we heal in community. And
mhm.
so allowing ourselves to really form this community that comes together of like-minded people who want knowledge and support, and we'll see where it goes, but that's kind of the idea of it all.
I love that.
Stephanie, you're so compelling in this, like on the Aligned podcast, because we talk about health, wealth, and relationships. So clearly, like the health piece, you're hitting the nail on the head. Like, just advocate for yourself. Go and find there's new options, there's alternative pathways. You're hitting, like, maybe a GLP-1 is perfect for women in a microdosing fashion, getting inflammation out of your body. It's just you are advocating for health, and you are in a walking testimony of what happens when you actually step into your health. And then the
Yeah.
secondary, like, Anna coaches so many women who are stay-at-home moms that sometimes are going through divorce. And so how do you, like, get out of there and not just rely on your 50-50 of the assets, but like actually you've built a career. You've taken your divorce, you've taken your separation and confidently been an entrepreneur and built this life for yourself and for your girls and your legacy. And so that does take confidence. You've got to put yourself out there on social media. You've got to take the risk. And I
Yeah.
mean, you've built it into something pretty amazing. And then, of course, relationships, like recognizing how you can say, I'm not happy in this marriage. And I am willing to leave Hawaii and move to California and start over, even though there's going to be shame and judgment and fear and overwhelm. And so you really are the complete embodiment of what this podcast is for. And so often we want our
Thanks.
listeners to, well, yeah, but like we want our listeners to recognize, like, we have one life. We have
Yeah.
one big, beautiful life. And so many women are spending it in marriages at age 40 going, I can't do this anymore. Or
Yeah.
they don't feel like they can leave because they don't know the pathway to be able to build their business, or they don't want to show up and be confident, or they're not taking their health and their HRT and taking ownership of what's happening in perimenopause and menopause. And so it's almost like, not to shame any woman, but everything is right at your fingertips. You have the
Yeah.
ability to make these big changes, and the only thing holding you back is fear. That, like, take it from the three of us. Like, we all have been divorced. We all are in relationships on the other side. We all have careers that we have built. We're all able to support ourselves financially and independently. And we're also the same woman that suffered in silence and that didn't want to tell anybody and didn't tell our friends and family what was happening in our marriage and kept everything a secret and didn't know that we too could, like, be the driver of our big, beautiful life.
Yeah. You said it beautifully. I mean, I think what I'd like to tell the listeners too is, like, there's one thing, like, don't push yourself to ever leave, because one day you'll wake up and realize it's way harder to stay than it is to leave. And until you get to that, and in that process, like, start to
Yeah.
really find the tools to go inward and really be like, okay, write, read. If you can go to Hoffman, go to Hoffman. Like, it's not expensive. But I feel like for me, that was a big thing. It was like, I am dying. And then also, like, what example am I showing my children of a
Yeah.
healthy? I was the worst version of myself. I mean, I look back and I'm like, oh my, and my girls, like, they know my entire divorce story. They know it all with their dad. And they sometimes look at me and go, Mom, I can't even imagine you married to dad. They love their dad,
Might say that.
but they're like, you
Might say
guys are
that
not
too.
a match. You're not a match. And like, we just love the version of you right now, even though sometimes they think I'm crazy with what I'm doing, but now they get it. When I first launched my company, they were like, you're a person, like, what are you doing on social media? Like, can you please block my friends? And now they're like, real, like, I coached a celebrity the other day and they were like, thought I was the coolest mom because the celebrity. I was like, see, I'm kind of cool.
Cool.
But I think, when I think back on my journey, which I do, I reflect often because I now have so much gratitude in my life because of where I've been. And I'm not sure if the two of you feel that way, but like,
Mm.
especially where I live. I thought it was actually harder to leave Hawaii than it was my marriage. So I kind of was doing two things at once,
Mm.
and I dumped. And I walk my dog most mornings and I literally look around. I'm like, I love where I live.
Mhm.
Like, thank God that little girl was strong enough to say, I need to get out of here. I need to breathe on my own. I don't want to have my parents controlling everything. I don't want everything at my fingertips. Like if I want my kids to get into a school, I will figure out how to get them into the school. I don't need my dad to make a phone call. And so
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of growing up that I had to do. And on to the financial, piece of it. I remember meeting with this financial planner. My ex-husband, I kind of oftentimes like put my head in the sand and fed my marriage a little bit. Like if I got into some family money or something, I just like, here, just don't talk to me. I want to live a certain life. And did not, I was in denial on a lot of things. So I remember meeting a financial planner and he like looked at everything and he's like, well, how are you going to live? I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, this will only last you so long. Like, how are you like, you want to have how are you gonna?" And it terrified me because I had my relationship to money was like, I don't even know. I don't have a job. I need to get a house. Like, how am I going to live? And I ended up pulling my money from him, to be honest, and went to somebody who asked me another question. Let me show you how we're going to do this.
Mhm.
And just taking my finances into my own hands. I'm going to tell everybody, like, I think that is your number like, know what your 10-year plan looks like, at least. Know where you are, know what you can support yourself on. I mean, for me, like, I couldn't depend on my ex-husband. Like, I knew I was on my own, and my family wasn't coming to save me, that was for sure. And so, I think part of that and then also knowing that you have a little fire under you. I don't know if I would have started Loop if I didn't have that pressure to say, like, "You're gonna have to go do something, A," and I was dying on the vine doing nothing. So, when I do actually, there's a lot of women who do come in with and I coach and are part of my community who do resonate with me from, I did have a glow up and left my marriage and, like, living this beautiful life and that everybody can do it. Like, I can help you feel the best version of yourself, physically, emotionally, all of it. Like, where you are gonna be like, "I am sexy as F." Like, let me go. Because a lot of women are like, I'm a has-been, I'm old, like, who's gonna want me? The key is coming back to yourself before and being like, "No, no, no, you're amazing. You're gonna now pour into yourself as you go through this. Life is not over. It's
Mhm.
actually just beginning." And so if I can, inspire one person to just say, like, I didn't have a parachute. I didn't have someone coming for me or saving me, but I was smart of how I went about doing it. So I think there is a piece to say too, is like you need to like it's a whisper and then it's when it becomes a roar, start to figure out if you were to do this, what would it look like? And then start to kind of put a plan in place is what I would say.
Definitely. I help women do that all the time and I always
Yeah.
tell them like you're not starting from zero. You're starting with so much more knowledge and experience and you will get there faster than you would have if you would have started when you were 23. Like you are so much better off. You have this network, you have these connections, you know people
Yeah.
who have gone first and now you get to do it. And when you do have a little fire under your ass, you've got to get going and you better like
Yes.
yeah, and you've gotta figure it out, and you're like, "I don't care if I look like an idiot. I don't care if I have to talk to a
Yeah.
thousand people to get the answer that I want. I need to do it." And once you're through it, you look back and you go, "Why was I so scared?" Like, I am moving
Yeah.
into the best version of myself, and I would have never found that if I would have stayed. And
Yeah.
really hard to because you do feel like, "I'm disappointing everyone. Are my kids gonna be okay?" All of that. But when you realize, like, your kids want you to be happy, they want you to be the best version, and when they look at you and go, "Oh my gosh, you were so different before, and now you are amazing," that's when you go, "I made the right decision," like, even though it hurt in the
Yeah.
moment, like, it's so much better for everybody.
And I also think like it made me just like come in time as you're going to go as anyone's going through a process like this, like just know you're alone, and
Mhm.
everyone's life on social media looks like so, pretty and like behind the scenes, there's usually a lot more. So like just finding whatever support system you need. I have a lot of women who are affiliates and it's because I'm like, just join our affiliate program and like tell your friends about it and it'll pay for your peptides. And they have
Yeah.
like a full on, like I've got a single mom who's like crushing it, making
Mhm.
so much money and just like figure out what you're passionate about and or people come, how can I work with you? I want to be
Mhm.
part of this environment. We're doing these IRL with real life events. We just had one in Dallas. And I'm like, is anyone gonna come? And Dallas is like a market where Loop does really well, but like, that's where my boyfriend's from, and I'm really new in that market. And it's a scary, sometimes a scary place for me. And so I'm like, I'm gonna do this event. We have 80 tickets to sell, and I'm like, is anyone gonna come? And you don't know. And, I've
No.
learned now when you do events, day events, especially with moms and stuff, and I do this well too, is like the most tickets get sold a week before the event because you're like, I don't know, I might be out of town, I might have a kid thing. So like
Mhm.
literally 2 weeks before the event, I was like, should we just cancel it? Like I've only sold 30 tickets. Like, should we just cancel it? Like how are we gonna get here? This is so embarrassing. And then I'm like, no, I've got people flying in for it who do care. And it's like, that's not fair to them. And we
Mhm.
ended up selling out and it was amazing. And just realizing like how many people want community and people brought their daughters and we were able to talk on the panel. Actually, I got to tell a little bit of my story about like making hard decisions and like pushing through and that like, do not be afraid to start at 50. I have tons of girlfriends, ironically, who started careers around this time.
Mhm.
And they didn't have any skill set, guys. It's not, and some of them didn't even go to college. So there,
Mhm.
I think because of the internet, because of this, because of podcasts, like you can get very creative on how you might want to start something. It doesn't have to be cheap. It could just be something in your community that you see that there's added value to. Just my thing for any of it is just start. Like just take the first step
Mhm.
in anything. Divorce, a new
Yeah.
career, your health. Like stop waking up feeling terrible. Do something about it.
Right?
There's a lot you can do. Yeah.
Or it's on you. Like if you don't take the step to get out of the marriage and you're in a miserable marriage, okay. If you're not making the step to move your body and take care of your body and try peptides, then I mean these are all choices. And so
Yes.
so many times it's easy to be like, "Oh, I can't do that," or "I don't have any money," or "I don't have resources." I hate my marriage. I hate my It's like, "Okay. So what are you going to do to move forward?" And I don't say that in a like
Yeah.
judgmental way. I say it in me too. Me too.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
we all have been there. We all have been in that victim. And you said it so beautifully when you said like you finally get to the point where you wake up and there's like no alternative. You
Yeah.
have to leave. And I say that the day that I decided to get divorced was the day that I could say it calmly. Didn't mean I wasn't sad, but I could say I want a divorce, and I said it
Yeah.
calmly. I was no
So I have
longer, like,
goosebumps.
crying and,
Mhm.
like, chasing him around the house and, "Please, say please, please, please see me, fix it, do this," or I wasn't yelling it or threatening it, it
Yeah.
was just calm, and that is when I knew that that time I was serious because my heart was sad, but I knew confidently that that was the next choice. And that's the same thing then when you go start this business. It doesn't mean you're not gonna be scared to show up on social media. That's weird.
I
It's
still am
awkward.
scared half the time.
Yeah, me too. But it's like, okay. I mean, we're all taking ourselves entirely too seriously. Like, every single
Yeah.
person on this earth today is not gonna be here in 100 years from now. So, like, what it's you get one life, your soul has come here for a purpose, live your big, beautiful life, and find little paths to work on your health, work on your emotions, work on your wealth. It's yeah, it's so fun to be in space with you two because it's empowering. It feels like we're forward moving. You have friendships
Yeah.
and all of us we're not lifelong friends because we went to school together. We are friends because we have met at retreats and we've connected on the internet and we've been on each other's shows and it's anybody like looking in to I want to be at that environment, it's like put yourself in these environments.
Yes.
Start
Mhm.
showing up.
Do the work.
Go to the yeah, do the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. And don't be scared to change. I mean, with things like peptides, we may live to be 130 years old, right? Like
Oh god,
Right?
I hope not.
we are still teenagers. So you can do this forever. No, but what would you say because there is so much talk in our communities as women in our 40s and 50s around GLP-1s. I know a lot of us see our friends on them maybe who aren't doing the microdosing and who are withering away to these skeletal figures where you go, oh my gosh, like they have no muscle, all of that. There is a difference between what you are doing and that. So, can you give us some clarity on that? Because I think there's a lot of misconception
Yeah.
out there.
Well, and I tread very lightly on this because I think what's happened, unfortunately, is a lot of these women were sold a load of goods a couple years ago when there was not a lot of knowledge on GLPs. And so the doctors are getting their GLPs that are in a one dose, one size fits all. It's a pen. It's like here, there's no microdosing. So, and it does actually scare me what's going on, because even like retatrutide is the newest GLP that's coming. And like their study size is on 6 milligrams. If I took 6 milligrams of retatrutide, I don't think I'd be out of bed for 20 days. I mean, that's the hard part with me with big pharma and the doctors, is that like, if unless you educate yourself and the doctor now is really saying, hey, there's nothing to the microdose. It Peptides are very much not a one size fits all. And a GLP can do so much on this much. Okay, I mean, when I say when I inject with a lot of people first, they're like, did anything go in? People are on this much and another half. I mean, and then the problem with it is, and this, I have a lot of clients that I work with, I have to reverse diet them. They have destroyed their metabolism, and it's going to be very difficult for it to come back. Like your hair is not falling out because of the GLP. Your hair is falling out because you're not eating enough nutrients to have your body say, oh, I should produce more hair. It's like, oh, that's the last thing you need. I need to make sure that your liver still works.
Right.
And so it's just recognizing, like, okay, maybe I've gotten myself in a hole. Maybe I've gone too far. Maybe it's triggered an eating disorder. There's a lot of dark side to the GLPs that I deal with. And I try to have so much empathy, because a lot of the women didn't know any better. It's what their doctor put them on, and they're terrified to get off. They're terrified of food. I get a lot like, I'm hungry now. I'm like, you should be hungry. You should be hungry every meal of the day. You food. I was just at my event, like we were talking about like what's the biggest health change you've made, is I eat a lot. I think people are shocked with how much I eat. Like I came out, got off the plane yesterday. I had 10 meatballs. I mean, they were this big, but I had 10 because I was like really hungry and I needed protein. And it was like, yeah, I could have grabbed a handful of pretzels or had a coffee because I was like, oh, I don't want to eat food. No, I'm like, I need food. Like I need my body. And you just find your body starts working for you. So to answer your question with the GLP, I truly believe, and so do a lot of people in this community that I'm in, that it's the biggest medical disruptor since birth control and antibiotics. I personally believe every single woman who's going through perimenopause and menopause should be on a microdose of a GLP to regulate their insulin. That alone, it'll help with the food noise. It'll help actually you will find your body calm and come to a homeostasis that you've never felt before from a brain perspective. I have a client who have been on Adderall for 25 years. Mama too, biggest, dirtiest secret. She said the second she got down to her last 2 pills, it was like she just goes, I thought I could maybe not pick up my kids. I would forget. I think it was like I was so dependent on this drug, 25 years. Went off of it cold turkey because of the GLP. And she cries. She's like, I will be on this GLP the rest of my life, and it's just changed everything. I don't suggest going up cold turkey of anything. Just note to self. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying the profound impact it has on people who are on SSRs, who are on things, because it's working also from an inflammation in your brain, and it's opening up pathways. It's really, I mean, and also I think for women, when you start feeling better and you're like, oh my gosh, like the weight is kind of coming off, or the inflammation, or I'm just happier, you'll just start to see it all starts kind of working. Then you move your body more. And then you decide you want to eat better. And then all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you're like, I can do this. So I'm not saying you're going to GLP and go and get divorced and feel like everything's great. But I do feel like I encourage women to be open to a micro dose of it, because it will really, really change your life.
Yeah.
It's not they skeleton. If they follow our protocols, they have support, they understand the pillars of health are so important. Like you have to eat protein. That's why I eat meatballs. You have to lift weights and you have to move your body. All that stuff is actually even more important, because you don't want to waste your money on a GLP if you're not doing all the other things.
Yeah.
Because you will have to be on a high dose to start to see results. And then you're actually stuck on this high dose that is expensive. Like, I think one other thing that I want to say is that people think peptides are really expensive. They're not. It's like I tell people, like, I can get you on a really good stack that's less than if you didn't go out to dinner with your husband or girlfriends twice a month, it's going to cover what your peptides are. It's not thousands of dollars. I mean, we're talking like you can get on BBC for $120 for the month. Like that's like a dinner with a bottle of wine if you had one. Like it's all about just and choices, or you can be an affiliate and get discounts on your pet. It's just, you have to want it and you have to stop making excuses. I think I hear a lot of excuses with women, and I don't really have a minute of, I've got 6 kids that between my partner and I in 2 states, this full business. And when someone gives me an excuse, that's funny.
Yeah.
Like you don't really want, like, if you
Oh,
want this, like you will
yeah.
make, you'll put your time, your energy, your money and education because you want this. Otherwise you don't want it. And that's totally fine. But stop,
Right.
like Molly said, stop being a victim, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Like there's a will, there's a way. And I always, like, if someone can't afford something, they know me. I'm always like, okay, let me take you on, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important. And I love what you are doing too with that affiliate program, because it does give women a way to get what they want, right? Get the peptides
yeah.
and share with other people and, pass along this message of health, but also create that income stream for
Yeah.
themselves, which so many women are scared to do. I need the flexibility. I can't leave my marriage because I have no money. And so I am a huge proponent of things like affiliate marketing and direct sales for stay-at-home moms or women who want that flexibility but need money and need that financial security to be able to make those choices that they want, whether they stay in their marriage or leave their marriage. Having financial autonomy and independence is your power as a woman.
And they really feel good. What happens too is, like, they start to have their glow up, right? And they're looking better. So their friends are asking, "What are you doing?" And then you really truly want to help your friends because you're like, "Wait, let me show you what I'm doing. Let me introduce you to the Loop community. Let me bring you in." And so we do these things that they're called pep talks. And so it's one of my favorite things to do. So a lot of my affiliates, I'll say, if you've got 10 or more people, myself or a coach will come. We'll Zoom, or I actually come to their house. And it is, I give about let's say 40-minute kind of overview on all sides and how we got here and what's the deal with all of this. And then at the end we ask a lot of questions, and it's fun because there's some women who are there like just anti. And I love it. Let's have the conversation. And there's some that are just like so excited. And then it's just women coming together to support each other. No one's putting each other down. Some women are like, "Oh, I've been on them for 5 years," or, "I've been on HRT since then." And we have conversations of supporting each other. And so I think it also provides an environment for people to be really open and, like, take the shame away from it. I mean, I think there's shame for men and women on GLP. Like, I was in Mexico and we were talking to this guy at the pool, and we're talking about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm on tirzepatide," and he's like, Don't tell the guy who's with me." Like, okay. But it's interesting that people still feel like, and I have no problem with that, but I do say to anyone like that, I say, well, then find a community because you'll be way more successful in your peptide journey if you're surrounded by like-minded people to ask questions, because there's so many great ones for your mitochondria and your brain. And like, it's not just weight. When weight loss is, like, I tell people, you might come in for the sexy, I want to come in for the, or, GHQ flowing, and then you stay for the mitochondria, and you stay for your brain, and you stay to sleep well. You stay for all those things because you realize that, like, it all kind of plays on each other, right? So, like, eventually you'll feel good because you're doing all the other things.
Hmm. I love that.
Oh, it's so powerful. I love it. So, if people are interested in peptides and the Loop Way, where do they find you?
So the best thing is to follow me on Instagram, and I'm at Stephanie Gambetta, Gambetta. And then we also have an Instagram called the Loop Way Instagram. So both of those are great. And then we have our website called theloopway.com. And in a couple of weeks, you'll see something called Loop Health, and it's all kind of combined. And that's going to be our telehealth platform, and it'll go right into memberships. And so we're just starting off with the basic one as we build the other two out, but it just allows you to be in community. And I think that's the best way to start. Listen to my podcast, the Loopway podcast. We talk a lot about peptides and guests that come in, and different doctors who kind of talk about how they're either using it, or my OB or my dermatologist. And so I try to give women like a lot of different areas to look at their life and saying, like, how do I feel support? Not just like, you don't have to be on a peptide to be in my community. Like, I have a protein line. I'm about to have a skincare line that's amazing, and you never have to inject one thing into your body. So there's so many ways also to feel better. It's not just a peptide, and some peptides are oral. You don't have to inject yourself. So just starting to get curious because peptides are like AI. They're not going anywhere. And I think as much as we are, even with AI being like, "Oh, this is so scary," we're all kind of, at least for me, it's like, what's God, we got to incorporate in our business. It's so helpful. My gosh, it saves
Mhm.
time. And with this administration, what RFK is doing and really moving these compounds, they used to live on 503A where you could compound them. And our last administration took them off. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons why. I'm sure people can understand why they're taken off. It had nothing to do with them being a health concern by any means. It's quite the opposite. So
Mhm.
it's exciting to see where the administration is going with this to support us all. And I was taken off Instagram about 6 weeks, 8 weeks ago, and censored for a lot of my conversations that I'm having. I'm back on, which is another podcast story of how I got back on. But it allowed me to really worry of like, wow, I must be saying something that's making some people really mad. And I'm just going to double down and keep having the conversations. I've got to be a little careful how I have them. But I just encourage everyone to be brave, breathe bold. If you have that little fear inside of you, that is exciting. That's like lean into that, right? Like I just say, like if you have it, like that's telling you you're meant for more, you're meant for bigger. Like it's an exciting place to come from. And kind of one last thing about my marriage, and it's something I tell a lot of people, it's like I also got to the point where like I rather be alone than feel alone. And there's something really empowering for me to raise my two daughters pretty much alone. I have a boyfriend, but like he's not the father of their kids. I mean, I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and I love it because I don't feel alone. I feel so supported by my family. I feel for my children, from my partner, from my job. I feel so great. And I remember that scared woman or little girl in that marriage who was sat there saying, I am so alone. Yet I have people all around me. And that feeling is just to me the worst feeling ever. Like, wow, how can I feel so alone when I have all these people around me?
Mhm.
Oh
Yeah.
So
gosh, so right. And so many people do feel that way. I mean, I talk to
yeah, and,
women
and they
all
don't have
over
to
the
be
world.
alone. Yeah,
Yeah.
and just start, finding your people. Talk about it. Listen to these type of podcasts. Like, Molly, as much as sometimes like you feel like you get hate on the internet, I'm like so proud of you. I mean, probably like
Oh,
you were with
thanks.
me, like I don't have time to scroll much, so I'm really not on it very often. And I think you'll find the more you get in, the more you have to be on it for work, the less you want it. And one day I'm like, oh my God, Molly is like talking to this camera. I mean, with such authority. And like, I mean, and the views and the likes and the comments, and I message you, I'm like, go girl. Like, it was so really for me fun to see because we've had these conversations. And then I don't know if I'll tell our story if you don't mind real quickly, but
Go for it.
Molly and Molly and I share this coach, that, well, I can say her name.
Yeah,
She's
I
great.
think
Well,
why not?
anyway, well, yeah, Christine Hassler,
Kristen.
and I was still seeing her, and I think Molly had been done, and she found out that I was going to this retreat, and she goes, "Oh, I can't tell you who, but there was a girl who worked with me who's going to the retreat. That's really cool." So I go down to this retreat thinking, I need to find this woman. The first night, guess who was sitting next to me? Molly.
Molly.
And we
Mhm.
and we figured it out really quickly. And it is interesting that there are certain people from this retreat that have been a really big piece of my journey and my business, and Molly's one of them. And we've stayed in touch, and I think she's really helped me in difficult times with my partnership and my boyfriend, who's also my business partner. And I'm just super grateful because I think to live in community and support each other and inspire each other is what life's about. So I'm very grateful for you. And you're
Oh,
very
well, I'm
talented.
grateful.
You're very
Thank you.
gifted. Like it's
Yeah.
not by accident what you're doing. You're very gifted.
Yes.
Well, I feel the same about you. And I mean, we've shared like I reached out to Anna on Instagram because we were going to be on the same podcast and we became friends. And then she came to me in December and said, let's do a podcast. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's do it. So it's just this next brave step and sign up for
Yeah.
the retreat. You're going by your we flew to Mexico by ourselves and
Yeah.
went to this retreat by ourselves and came
Yeah.
and sat down next to a woman and made really good friends. And I reached out to Anna and we connected, and then she reached out to me and we had like calls. And
Yes.
it
Yeah.
it only takes a little bit of putting yourself out there for it to
Yeah.
snowball and to grow. And much like a health journey, like you
Yeah.
put on one thing and then you have your glow up. Like you can have your same glow up in your life by just doing the next
Yeah.
right thing in the right direction. And I feel really inspired by our conversation. Of course, I love peptides. I have been on the Loop peptides. I'm an advocate for Loop, and I've been so honored to watch you every step of the way. And, my kids watch me line up the syringes and the whole thing. They're like, whoa, Mom, what are you doing? But it's, it's fun. It's amazing. You're doing great work, and we need more of you and your presence in our lives. So,
No,
with
thank you
that,
guys.
yeah, thanks everybody for joining us on this week's episode of the Align podcast. We are so thankful that you're here. We would love you to like, share, and join us for next week for another episode, and we will talk to you soon.